time is probably the most important aspect of the relationship recovery. When I work with my clients, I really spend most of my time slowing the process down, because you feel this sense of urgency to reconnect, to discuss about the breakup, to discuss about your feelings, to start where you left the relationship. And you'll see that when you do these kind of things, it's going to make things worse, and you're going to actually prevent yourself from getting back with your ex. So time is the best way for you to get back with your ex. I'll explain everything after the jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
Let's take a step back about the breakup itself. So when you think about it, you've been with your partner, perhaps you got married, and you went from a moment where you had the best day of your life, you got married, and people often say it's the best day of their life, or perhaps the birth of one of your children, to a moment recently, in your case, for example, where your ex told you, we need to break up. It doesn't work anymore. And it feels like a shock. And that's why you're very eager to learn and curious about what you should be doing and watching videos like this one. And to be honest, it's a great thing that you're curious and want to progress. And you feel that your ex isn't in shock, because, of course, it's a difficult decision, but it's definitely not the same for them. Because their decision comes after a long thinking process. I usually say 30% of the relationship where you start thinking about breaking up with your ex. Relationship of 3 years, it's been a year that your ex started to think about breaking up with you. Now you have to ask you a few questions, whether it's clear for you why you guys broke up. Perhaps you were in denial because you fought and you felt like that was okay. Perhaps it's about a protest behavior. Perhaps it's about a lifestyle that changes suddenly. Perhaps it's a life event. Perhaps it's because your ex is going through a life crisis. So have a look at those things. Understand those elements, those triggers, because they might have. It's never, especially when the clients I look after are more people who've been together for a while. And you see, it's never one event that would create the breakup. It's a succession of different events. So it happened. You have to acknowledge and accept that it happened, because the prospect of being without you, they feel they're going to be better off. Okay? Whether they're single or someone else. So they feel that if they date someone else, that relationship will be better than yours. If they're single, they'll feel that their life would be better without you. And so they feel like it's better than fighting in their case. They don't want to fight for the relationship. You want to fight. You want to repair, but they don't want to do that. Okay? Better than working things out. Again, you are watching videos, you're learning, you're trying to know what you could do, what you could change. They are not in that state of mind right now. And I'm going to say right now very often in this video, because it's really about the right now. You have to understand that your timeline and your ex's timeline are not aligned at this point in time. I'll explain you why. First principle is the erosion. If you drip water on a rock, it's not going to break the rock, right? But if you do that for months and months and years, you're going to see holes in the rock. This is what happens in every single relationship when there's a breakup. And it's very hard, because it's very hard when you're in the relationship. It's not that you're in denial. It's just that when you see things, you just see there's just one dripping of water. What you don't see is the result of those inactions or wrongdoings that happen over time. One of the things to understand and to analyze, because I think in this video it's really for you to understand first how you can change the trajectory, and then the element of time. So the Four Horsemen, which was developed by Gotham. So basically, and I'm not going to do a video on this, just to explain you, it's whenever you have negativity in a relationship, you have 4 types of horsemen, 4 types of things that are really making the relationship difficult and drifting people apart. Criticism, For example, when you would say, or your ex would say, you didn't take the trash out, i.e. you're selfish. So it's judgmental rather than just saying like, and saying things with non-violent communication. And again, that's not the point of this video. Stonewalling, fight or flight response. When there's a lot of stress, when there's a lot of tension, men usually, they would sort of step out or tune out, okay? Defensiveness, I'm not the problem, that's you. You put all the fault on your ex, on your partner, okay? And contempt, which is the worst one, implies that your partner is inferior to you, or the type of behavior like eye rolling, you sort of don't respect your partner anymore. So anytime you have a fight, anytime you disagree with your partner in the past, try to look whether you were having those sort of attitude. Because if you adopt those kind of attitudes over time, that will create this breakup, that will create this resentment that push them to think, I will be better off without you. Okay? I will put some additional materials and stuff in the description if you want to have a look. It's very interesting, and I think once you understand this, you might be able to have a better understanding of what happened throughout the relationship. Second principle of time is diffusing. Again, a breakup is a lot of tension. Okay? You were in shock, your partner wasn't in shock because they knew they would take that decision, but there's still a lot of tension. You're fighting, you're arguing, all those fights that you had before, it's even worse now, okay? So between you trying to recover and your ex trying to follow through, they made a decision, they want to follow through on their decision. People hate when you challenge their decision, okay? People hate when you tell them you're wrong, okay? They could be wrong. I'm pretty sure they're wrong. If you're watching this video, you know that you have a chance to get back with your ex. And therefore, at some stage, not right now, but at some stage, they will realize they were wrong. So in that case, anytime you have this urge to connect, this urge to address things, think of it as a falling knife. Wait for the knife to fall on the floor before picking it up. You don't want to catch a falling knife. Third principle is brain and memory, and it's a very simple concept to understand. It's very common sense. We tend to filter in and out memory. Okay, we don't remember everything that we do. And recent memories are very emotional. They are highly emotionally charged. Okay, so when you break your arm, when you hurt yourself, the day you hurt yourself, it's really intense. 1 week after, you know that you got hurt, but it's very different. A year after, it would be a good story to tell your friends. Okay, so it's very important to let time pass, because that emotional element will be gone in your ex's mind. Those resentment, the horsemen that we discussed, this criticism or stonewalling or those little things that you probably did without knowing that you were hurting the relationship, would be there. They would have those memories of those fights, but the emotional aspect will be gone. And the only way for you to remove this emotional aspect is time, because your ex's brain will filter in and out those things. Fourth one, it takes time to change. It's very simple. If you want to get back with your ex, there's something you need to change. Usually, so it could be lifestyle, behavior, habits, there's so many things. And that's why you have people like me to help people change, because we are really bad at changing. You've been together 20 years. Perhaps your ex started to complain 6 years ago. What have you done to change this? Probably not much. And so you have to understand that your ex belief is that you can't change, because you've had so many years, so many months of opportunity to change, and you haven't done it. And so don't think that because you understood the root cause of the breakup, you'll be able to change right away, and your ex will be really skeptical about the fact that you can change. It takes, to change a habit, for example, it takes, depending on the studies, but it takes 28, 30 days to change a habit, to learn a new habit. And so don't expect that within a week or two, you'll be able to convey the idea to your ex that you've changed. If it's about your lifestyle, if it's about your work-life balance, you don't change job in a month. Okay, you can have a plan in order to change job, but effectively what your ex is after is, I want you to have a new, healthier lifestyle and spend more time with me. So telling them, yeah, I'm going to change my job, I'm going to quit That's not enough. That's not what they want, because they've asked it way, way before. Okay? And that's why sometimes I refuse clients. So if you book a call with me, sometimes I do discovery calls. Right now I'm very busy, so I can't. But if you WhatsApp me and I clearly see that you're not ready to put the effort, I'm not going to take you as a client, because I'm very conscious about, I want to provide value and help people. Coaching, therapy works only if your client is putting the work. Otherwise, you're wasting my time, I'm wasting your time. To be very clear. So change, there's an element of effort and there's an element of time if you want to change. Fifth one, your ex needs time. It's also a need that people don't really understand. They need to experience life without you. Again, this breakup is their idea that their life will be better off without you. If you're around, if you are always trying to burst this bubble, because it's a bubble, they feel like, yeah, they made a decision. People, when they make a decision, they think it's a good decision, obviously. So let them experience the decision. They bought this awful dress, these awful shoes, let them wear it in public and see the response and see the reaction, okay? It's a bit of a stupid example, but it's exactly the same. You have to let them experience this. Another element of why I think you need time is also because if you want to reconnect, if you want to get back together, you need to also create a form of attraction. If you're constantly on their back, if they know that your only desire is to get back together, you can't really play the element of mystery, which is one way to create attraction. Okay, your job is to help. For them to fall back in love. If you're around, if you're telling them I love you, if you're always on the hook, that's not going to work. You create the wrong dynamic. Okay, so they need to be attracted. They need to feel that, oh yeah, what is he up to? Okay, and you need time. You need that space. Okay, so when I talk about time, you obviously understood that I talk about no contact, a phase of not being in touch with your ex for a bit. But if I wait too long, my ex will forget me. That's the most common objection that I hear when people tell me, I'm not ready to do no contact. The fear of loss is common, and we all share this, especially after a breakup. This is probably the worst case in our life, when we feel that fear of loss of something that you can win back. Okay? But it doesn't reflect the reality of what is a relationship recovery. So of course, it's easier for me to tell you what to do, because I help hundreds of people every year. I've seen cases. Each case is different, but I know, as a matter of fact, that this element of time is crucial. Okay? And 100% of the time, when I prepared the slide deck, I was like, okay, time and my clients, I always ask them to slow things down. You have to understand that your ex is not convinced yet that they want you back. You are convinced. I don't want to sell you something. You're already buying it in terms of you getting back with your ex. But your ex needs to buy it and needs to be convinced. And that takes time. Usually and it depends on the situation, but usually you don't start at them being 80% convinced. They start at 10%. I'm curious. So I'm go on a date with him. I have a coffee date and see what he's up to. And if you do the right things, you get from 10% to 30%. But that doesn't mean it's going to be successful right away. It takes a bit of time. Remember this: if you are special, and here, maybe I was a bit pessimistic. If you are special, and your ex won't move on so easily, your ex will not forget you. Again, I see people every single day, and I can tell you, I haven't seen cases where, if you had something special, your ex can forget you, can forget about what you had, okay? If you are meant to be together, you will end up together. Don't forget this. If you are meant to be together, you will end up together. And by rushing things, you will actually reduce your chances. It's very counterintuitive, because it's the two elements in your brain of the fear of loss, the urge to connect, the problem that you get activating this attachment. For example, if you're anxious, create a conflict between what you feel and versus what you have to do. And so as a therapist, my job is to really help you gain that awareness that when you have those thoughts, they are unproductive because they don't produce the right results. Okay, and my job is to put my clients on track to help them reduce their anxiety, reduce and slow down their sort of thinking process and sort of their timeline, because they need to align their timeline with their axis timeline. Think of it as growing a plant. Okay, you put a seed, you water the plant. You can't expect the plant to grow up right away. It takes a bit of time of nurturing, of watering this plant every single day, of putting the plant somewhere sunny. Okay, but you can't expect that I plant the seed. Okay, so are they going to get back to me now or not? You need some time. It is crucial because it's by growing organically. A recovery for me is really organic. It needs to really take time, because also the other element that I didn't mention, if you rush things and you get back together, for sure it's not going to work because you're going to reproduce the same mistakes. The changes that your ex is expected won't last because you would have used a shortcut, because you wouldn't necessarily mean it very, very consciously. And you would sort of fake it to make it, but it's not going to work. It's not going to be sustainable. So accept that it takes time, because it takes time, and because that's what works. And trust me, trust the process. If you have any thoughts, questions, don't hesitate to comment. Please also subscribe if you like this video. It does help me a lot promoting my content, and I'll see you next time.
Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer.